Listen and subscribe to the Table of Truth on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts. And 20 minutes, perfect. Welcome everybody to Blerdlines. This is your man Cam. With me, as always, is
the human water consumer that is Josh Thomas,
as well as
the mad scientist, Professor Dr. Doom himself.
Wow.
And we are talking about Thor Love and Thunder.
Woo!
All three of us have seen it. We all got to catch it over this past week or so.
I think I'm the freshest, right? Because I literally saw it like maybe 2 hours ago.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah, you're definitely the freshest.
But I would say initial impressions, I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I was laughing. Like it you know what it was? It reminded me of a comic book movie. Like it was funny. It had good action. It actually there's actual heart to some of the characters that was going on. It felt like one of my friends was saying it felt like a graphic novel, and I was like, yeah, that's a pretty accurate description because it had all the trappings of a graphic novel where it was just like the pacing wise, I would say in general and visually it looked great. It was super fun. And then I mean my negatives would be like, like 20% they could pull back on the Taika jokes, but other than that, for me, when I left the theater, I was like, yo, that was cool.
Yeah, it was definitely a good time. It was. I agree with you. I think we saw it together. So yeah, when we walked out of the theater, we definitely were like, yeah, it could have been a little less goofy, like 20 to 30% less Taika.
Yeah.
Less of the Taika-isms, but it didn't suffer for it, and I think that's the mark of a good film. Even if you have qualms with it, like the things that you have qualms with, it didn't detract so much from it that you just like, oh god, but yeah, it was. I mean, the goats were the star of the movie.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
The goats were the stars, and
stop
so to that, it's funny how I saw it with Cam. I saw it with the lady yesterday, and we were both times we were all like, "Yo, that should not have been that should not have carried to be as funny throughout the entire movie as it was, but it absolutely laughed the entire movie. Every time those goats yell, you're in tears, and it gets harder not to laugh.
Yeah,
you laugh harder the further into the movie it gets.
Yeah,
because it just gets more and more ridiculous. Like when they put them, put them at the head of the ship to take them to omnipotence. Oh, I might have lost my mind because it was just so ridiculous and funny. And I watched What We Do in the Shadows, which is Taika's television show right now. His comedy on FX.
Right.
Same type of humor, and it always just gets more ridiculous. But one of the things about Taika, to you guys' point about the humor, because I felt the same way. I thought there were times where, especially Chris Hemsworth's dialogue was a little bit too much of the goofy person. But then, just as you point out, he's really been good at going just to that point and then pulling himself back.
Yeah.
So Thor, I was really impressed with the exchanges between Jane and Thor, because that could have been super melodramatic. It could have been a bunch of different range of emotions, but it was fun. It was romantic. It was believable. And also you felt that emotional state for Thor that allowed him to what was missing from Strange and Mad in the Multiverse of Madness, personal states with all the other things going on and having Christine there, that is present with Jane and Thor. So despite the fact that she's been gone for as he said, 8 years. I don't know.
8 years, 5 days.
Man,
3 hours and 22 minutes.
That dude, he could stay in the MCU for 10 years and I would never get tired of him. I mean, just the epitome of having the time of his life.
Yeah, 100%. And I would say the big thing was like,
sorry.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say
clearly.
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that they did a good job of giving each of the main characters like a good arc of heart through the whole film.
Yeah.
So you saw like props to them to like, because like even when they're just talking about all the stuff that Thor has been through, it's like his mom died, his dad died, his brother died, his brother died again, his girl broke up with him. Like and then you're like, after going through, you're like, oh damn, yo, he went through a lot of shit.
Yeah. It's been almost 20 years, folks. Like of stuff.
And so I thought that was dope. And then also for Jane showing the whole progression of her being the badass, learning that she has cancer, thinking she can get out of it, and then finding out she can't, and then trying to figure that whole thing. And so it was cool that with each one, and even with Gore as well, that cold open, woo, that's probably one of the best cold opens they've done in a long time.
And they put the right actor there for it. Kristen Bell. And the thing is, I thought this is weird to say, but Christian Bale looked like he was bored and uninterested, but at the same time, still
he definitely found some of it in
100 performance. Like he looked like he was uninterested. Like this is a one-shot deal that I'm doing, and I'm out of here. I'm not in this for the long haul. But at the same time, he still gave a great performance as Gore. You felt it. It was. The problem with Taika and his villains is that he doesn't give them the same kind of the level of seriousness that I think they deserve. Gore's power is terrifying, and when he has that sword, it's even more frightening. The same thing with Hela, and then to have the sort of joke villain, secondary villain, like in Ragnarok, it was the Grand Master, and this time it's Zeus. Which, by the way, Russell Crowe's ancient Grecian accent was horrible. It sounded like
it was horrible to the point of perfection. He sounded like an old Greek grandpa.
To me, he sounded like an old Russian grandpa. Maybe it's my ear. He didn't sound.
He sounded like the dude that ran the Greek deli around my way when I was a kid. That's the way
he was having the time of his life. Like it was quite hilarious, actually.
You can tell that these actors, their kids are like, "You got to do a Marvel movie, Dad. I don't care what you say."
At this point,
there's no reason that Russell Crowe would agree to do this, and certainly no reason that what's his name? Christian Bale is actually, I think I heard him say that his son was like, "Yo, you gotta do a Marvel movie, Dad. Like, stop playing." Yeah. He was talking to him like, "Yo, I was thinking about doing this and doing that and doing that," and he was like, "Well, how about a Marvel movie?" He was like, "Hadn't really thought about it."
They had sent him the offer, and he was going over it, and his kids were right there, and he was like, and they saw that he had a script or whatever for Thor 3, and they're like, "Oh, nope, you're doing that. You got to do that." and then Bell was just like, "Oh, I guess I'm doing this then."
All right, I can do it for my kid.
You can see that, like that's why when I'm watching, I'm like, you can tell that he did this for his kids.
He just laid this up.
Not be here otherwise.
Yeah, and he still did a good job, which is hilarious.
Still did a good job.
That's testaments to his acting skills. But no, I would say that I thought that they gave Gore, Jane Foster, and Thor good enough meat to show like the heart of it in between all the comedy bits. And so I like that, like especially for Natalie Portman was having the time of her life as Thor. She was just zipping and ripping, and she was like making sure you saw the guns. And like before you hopped on, Jans, I was looking up about how they made her, how they took this 5'3" woman and made her almost eye level with our Asgardian god Chris Hemsworth, and so and they were saying that they what they would do is they would map out the scene, and then they would build a deck that would be about a foot off the ground to get her up there, so then that way it would work. But then which it's Tom Cruise movie magic.
Yeah, movie magic. That's that's old school music.
Yep,
That's practical.
Yep. And so, but then they were also talking about how because of the accents of the crew, that Tessa Thompson was like, yeah, every time they had to talk about like moving it, depending on who the accent was, deck could sound like a whole different thing. so then the running joke, and she's like, and then Tessa Thompson is like, and we're all children. So the running joke was like, yo, could someone get Natalie's dick?
Yo, they look like they were having fun, and I also like that Natalie Portman is like in her returning is showing people, because a lot of fans trashed her after Thor 2, and which I always thought it felt odd that they would go after her of all.
Yeah, exactly. Right. There's a lot of other problems with that film.
But I like that she showed that it had nothing to do with her love or lack of for Marvel or for the superhero or fandom, and it was strictly because of her dealing with Alan Taylor or whoever the filmmakers were for Thor 2. So I like that she showed, even in her performance, that she still rocks with these people and has a good time with them. Like it was almost like nothing had changed from Thor Dark World to, obviously he's been absent, but pick right back. Even with what's her name?
Tessa Thompson?
No, not Tessa.
Oh, you talking about my boo, Kat Dennings?
Yeah. I'm trying not to go there, but I knew it was going to come out eventually. Yes, I'm blanking on her name.
Darcy.
Darcy is the character's name.
Kat Dennings is the actress' name.
Why Kat Dennings would not come to my mind, I don't know. But when she showed up and they had a nice tight close-up on her, I'm like, man,
she was focused on that shot from WandaVision when she was in the circus outfit.
Man, listen. hashtag hot she devil.
Hashtag what?
Hot she devil.
Hot she. That's good. And if there's ever a reason to rewatch WandaVision, that's one.
Yeah, WandaVision to me, it was the supporting cast that made that show for me personally. But yeah, I would say like
on the support with them circus pants.
But you're right though. I think it was a good testament to Natalie Portman, because like one, she showed up and she was like having fun. She was really into it. It wasn't like you could say, well, she wasn't phoning it in. She actually enjoyed it. And then they did a really good job with the scenes with Chris Hemsworth and her. And they showed the awkwardness. They showed the kind of like yearning / well, it's your fault, but it's your fault, kind of that kind of a thing. Hemsworth sold the hell out of why do you have my hammer?
That was even when he first saw it, and he was just like, like it was the whole movie. And I like that they were building up on that conversation, the thing that they introduced in Ragnarok, which was that he has this kind of emotional relationship with Mjolnir, and that it's almost, I won't forget who, Korg or whoever, however he put it, it's almost like the akin to having an intimate relationship with a living being or something like that. So showing that was great too.
Yeah,
I love how how Stormbreaker would pull up every time he would start pining over over Mjolnir. That was ridiculous.
That was
like, buddy. Like, my hammer, my hammer. My hammer, my hammer, my hammer, my hammer. And then Stormbreaker would pop up and be like, dude.
Right.
It's my
blade first, too.
Yep.
My man.
Like, did we not kill Thanos together? Did we not have that moment?
Yo, it's like my ex girl talking to my next girl. Ugh, horrible. And I think that those are those comedic beats, too, that I liked, because, like, in general, like you get classic Taika's good like comedy bits, and then you're right. Every time it would be a little bit too much, it would pull back a little bit. And I thought that balance was good. And I think the overall arching thing, and then we go back to Tessa Thompson, where they actually gave her something to do now. Because
Right.
before she was just like she's pretty and she was a lesbian, I guess, and beating people up. And then this one they actually gives her something like, yo, she's been rocking over Asgard. She's bored as hell.
Yeah.
And now you're giving her something to do. And she's like, all right. And then also her and Jane are besties now. And the whole Mjolnir clink with her sword clink, that was dope.
Mhm.
Like they gave her more stuff to do, which I thought was dope. Because again, at least you fleshed out a little bit more of a character as opposed to just having her there.
Yeah.
I think the thing that to your point, Taika's creativity really, really shined in this one. As much as it was too much Taika in some spots, it was the perfect amount. Like the pieces of Thor's hammer being able to break up and become like an actual weapon. That was genius. I would never in a million years have thought that would be a thing. Like I never thought of it. I'd never seen it. If I were directing that film, I know my brain, I would never have come up with that.
But it also doesn't kill the stakes that you established in the last one, which is Hela broke that hammer. Like you don't want to then put it completely back together and say, okay, that didn't mean anything. No, that hammer was shattered by a powerful being. and
correct me if I'm wrong, Cam. In the comics, when I think that happened, and he has to go through like this huge quest to put the hammer back together. Was it him and Hercules?
Yeah, it was him and Hercules that put it back together.
Oh,
and then
man, that was actually pretty good.
Because his new one is like goldish or something like that now. Like it's like it got like dipped and basically he had to do a whole bit to get it back to being like solid.
Okay.
It probably looks more like the newer one probably is reminiscent of the actual Thor hammer from Norse mythology. Yeah. Okay. Like the one in God of War, that one that I sent you the screen grab where he's holding it, that's more looks like what Thor's hammer actually it has a sort of an arc and almost like a T I imagine because the Marvel one looks nothing like what the Norse mythology looks like. It was, I think overall Thor Love and Thunder was fun. It was a continuation of Taika's like you said, his brilliant creativity and his ability to keep Thor grounded and contained and tight and not make you think you need to watch several other films. Even the Guardians were used perfect amount of time. And gave them what we say all the time, just takes one line dialogue. Oh, there's 5,500 new people requests for help across the galaxy, but there's some guy over here. Wait, Thor, what was that? That's Lady Sif. I know her. Thor, they're killing this guy. He's killing Asgardians. He's killing the gods. Well, I better deal with that.
I know where I'm going.
Exactly. And y'all can't deal with that one. I got to deal with and that's world building because it establishes the Guardians are out there. They're still doing their thing. Conspicuous by her absence was Zoe Saldana. I'm assuming that she just wasn't available for filming.
That's what I was thinking. But also, it kind of makes sense because they didn't really like reconcile at the end of Endgame, right? It was more like, hey, I'm here, you're here, but we're two different people. We're not like together. So it would narratively it would make sense that she wouldn't be there.
That she's not joining them for all the missions. She doesn't have the only person that version of Gamora would be close to is Nebula, and that relation and that closeness is nebulous at best. Wow. It's nebulous at best.
Not bad writing nerd. Not bad. Not bad at all. Yeah, I'll give you that one.
Did you guys have any negatives?
I would say is some of the jokey jokes were a little too jokey. I think sometimes it took the characters out of their established kind of realm. I thought in general, I think I actually liked the pacing of it. So that's not. I'm trying to think of another negative.
I think for me, the biggest negative and the only negative is in the comics. And I realize it's an unfair comparison because Jason Aaron was absolutely just off his ass when he wrote it. But in the comics, this spans most of Thor's lifetime, like over the course of like what 1,200 years or something like that.
Yeah,
of his 1,500 living.
Yeah.
And so when he first encounters Gore, he doesn't have the hammer yet. He's not even like considered to like he's not even in line to be
That's
Prince of
Thor.
Asgard.
He's just
Like young adult, either late teen or young adult Thor with an enchanted axe. And not even Stormbreaker. Like not even that. It's just an axe because he needs to have like an avatar type weapon because he's a guardian. And he gets whacked the first time he meets Gore, like thoroughly. Second time he meets him, he's an Avenger, but he's got like the helmet with the wings and like it's Iron Man, like it's early Iron Man era. Like he doesn't have 1,000 bits of armor, and someone comes across Gore, and I'm saying you guys read it, but for the audience, someone comes across Gore and tells Thor, like, kind of just happens to, just in a random conversation, just like, yeah, this guy like supposedly killed the gods of this planet's belief system. It's crazy. Like, who kills gods? And he's like, what? and it wasn't like a what, like, oh snap, I know who that is. It was more like he's shook. Like he's legitimately shook. And if I remember correctly, Wolverine is the only one who picks up on it. Like, yo, I don't know if anybody noticed this, but when that person mentioned that someone killed God, Thor got really scared. and now Thor's gone. Where'd he go?
Oh wait, this is Josh. This is your negative against.
Yeah, it's a negative. Yeah. So I'll get there. I'll get there.
Before you said it, was like I know what you're saying. It's like I would say the one, like going back to your negative, would be Gore as a character in the movie is almost like a one note character. Like he has a certain arc. He's there, blah blah. Mm-hmm. But Gore in the books is a damn near like legendary character, and the story is so the gravitas of the story of the God Butcher is so big that it kind of cheapens it having him in the movie. Which again, you can finish what you're gonna say.
Right. So, and I think so. Again, he goes off, investigates, gets the hell kicked out of him. And we don't hear from him again until far future. And in the far future, all the gods are dead except for Thor. And Gore basically is on some, I just want to keep him alive just to play with him. You're the last god left. I don't want it to end. And so Thor's got an eye patch. He's got the destroyer armor from the first film as an arm because he's missing an arm. And eventually, long story short, Thor, present day Thor, goes back in time, gets young Thor, and then him and young Thor go to the future, and the three of them have to take on Gore, and that's how they beat him. Under no other circumstances could that have happened because Thor by himself cannot beat Gore under any no way under the sun. And so it takes I think we lose one of the Thors. And then I think old man Thor finally gets like two hammers, and that's how you take him out. Like, and everything's restored to normal or whatever, or something like that. But like,
it's an epic tale.
It's an epic tale, and you don't have that level of gravitas in Love and Thunder for a character like Gore that is as deep. I mean, yes, you have to dumb him down a little bit. You can't have him be as diesel as he is in the books, but I feel like he could have gotten a little bit more, like had a little bit more depth, a little bit more threat. His presence means a little bit more in terms of stakes.
Yeah, I wish they would have showed him killing more gods.
Yeah,
I thought that like they only showed it. They showed the one, and then they showed the aftermath with Sif, and the other one was straight out of the book, which was dope. But and he was really creepy. But I wish they would have kind of shown. I mean, maybe even it was like a 30-second montage or something like that to give him a little bit more gravitas.
I agree with that. I think you're right. That was one of my complaints too, was that we didn't really see him killing any gods.
Mm-hmm.
We saw him fighting Thor and Valkyrie and all them, but we didn't see, like, I was expecting him to show up at Omnipotent City or something like that.
Right.
That would have been dope.
Whole massacre for him to have.
That would have been amazing, and that's something you're right.
So I was expecting that. To go back to what you were saying, Josh, I think both of you guys are saying that's a legit point about them scaling back. But we've talked about this before. That's an issue with all of the MCU, is that they've had this problem with scaling down their narratives, and specifically their villains.
Yeah,
we can go down the list, and all of the villains that they've adapted has been a scale, almost a massive scale down from where those characters are, what those characters are in the comic book. Hela, Thanos, even Killmonger was scaled back from where, if you can believe it.
Loki too.
Purple Man, Loki,
Yeah,
like
Purple Man. Purple Man.
Yeah, like all of them, they've taken this approach where they almost, as if they know they don't. These villains are not the show, and the main attraction is the superheroes. So the villains are treated as secondary, almost, because again, Gore, it would have been much more interesting. And the way you do that is you could have had introduced him last in Ragnarok by having rumors of some mother sucker out there killing orphan gods, to set it up. But I think where they miffed was, you're right, not having a massacre in the Omnipotent City, because I think that was ripe and prime for all, and that's why the Zeus scene is problematic for me now, because it went on way too long, and it ended up resolving in a goofy, stupid way. That, to me, I don't picture Zeus like that. Not even Marvel Zeus. Like I picture a more regal, somewhat Elden warrior god, like King, like not some fat, goofy, bodega store clerk, like he like with the cow plant. Like that's what the Zeus, and even when again. So I just think that you're right. Now that you mentioned that, that is a problem for that movie, is that the God Butcher doesn't butcher many gods.
Yeah, you're right, and I think you're right. If they would have pulled up to Omnipotent City and opened up the chamber, and like half the gods are dead, and then Zeus is fighting Gore, and then Gore bounces out, and then you have to go chase Gore. That would make a little bit more gravitas of. And then now the part that you have to figure out is what's going to be Zeus's beef with Thor overall at some point, which you could probably figure that out.
Well, or he could have popped in, like they could have had the entire stage ceremony the way that they did. Zeus makes his grand entrance. All that other crap, and in the middle of Thor trying to convince him that this is a threat, and him dismissing it, that's when Gore pops up.
It could have went down just like
you
that.
See the massacre. If you see it go down, I think it ends up versus walking into a scene where it's already happened, because there was too much of that already. There's too much of Gore being spoken of as the threat and not really seeing him.
And that happened too fast from when he got the sword and killed his guy to that point. Like, he's already gotten this reputation. Now, again, space-time, I will forgive that. But you're right. I think if he showed up and massacred most of the guys at City, including one, because I don't know who that was supposed to be implied to be. The one that was like, Dad, or something. Like, it was supposed to be one of Zeus's sons.
Oh,
I don't know exactly who he was. From the plumpness and the sort of making him look lazy. He could have been Dionysus. It could have been Hermes. I don't know all of the Olympians that Marvel has adapted other than Hercules and Zeus. But yeah, that would have been a moment, and a narrative reason that Zeus would be pissed with Thor is because Thor led Gore there.
Yeah.
Because Thor, speaking of that would have also made more sense with the reveal of Stormbreaker, because I thought that was a little bit too ham-fisted in there at the end there. where all of a sudden
which reveal are you talking about?
That Stormbreaker was the key to getting to eternity.
He literally just threw it out there.
That was weird. That was weird.
You could have said that from the beginning.
More.
And then, so why wouldn't Gore just hunt Thor if he knows he needs that?
Yeah.
Why is he luring Thor? Or like, things.
Yeah, it didn't make no sense. That was a little weird, and there was like a little like.
Here's another thing that popped into my head actually as we were talking. People were just picking up hammers and axes that you're supposed to be worthy in order to pick up. Like it wasn't nothing.
True.
Yeah, because
I don't know.
Well,
if
Jane
has the oath embedded in it, like Stormbreaker, like Mjolnir does. But people were just picking stuff up like it wasn't nothing.
Yeah, especially the axe. The Mjolnir, only Jane and Thor picked it up, I think.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken.
And Cap.
But the axe was just like any and everybody.
Yeah, the axe, anybody and everybody was just picking it up, like on some just.
But like, again, to your point, Josh, Odin didn't put his spell, on Stormbreaker. Remember, in the first Thor, and we're specifically talking about the adaptation, the movie, not the comic history. When Odin casts Thor to Earth, he specifically speaks into Mjolnir and puts the spell that you have to be worthy in order to hold this, because before that I don't think that was the case when Thor first had the hammer. Like, I think anybody probably could have picked it up then, but because Odin specifically laid that curse or that edict on the hammer, and he was dead and couldn't do that for Stormbreaker. So I think that's the reason why, I expect Axel to be, or Astrid to be able to hold it, because he's Asgardian and he's the son of Heimdall. So that made a little bit made sense.
Yeah, you still got to be a god to hold it, but that makes sense. You're right.
Okay.
And that makes sense more.
Thor was up because he had some of Zeus's power too, which is the reason why he was able to extend his power to the kids.
And I thought that was actually kind of cool too. I thought that was that was a good use of Zeus's bolt. I was wondering how that was going to play out, because I was like, okay, what are you guys going to do with it? But that it was someone said the kid scene was like Return of the Jedi, Battle for Endor with the Ewoks and stuff. And I was like,
that's not right.
Damn, I can't dispute that actually.
You can't really dispute it, because when you look back, when you think about it and you look at it, it's like, because that scene the movie wouldn't have suffered if that scene had never happened at all. And that's the same thing with the Battle of Endor. I still feel that way. I'm like, man, if nothing happened.
However, the little girl with the stuffed animal.
True.
That was kind of dope.
That was cute.
That was really cute.
Yeah. You guys are too overly sentimental about the human thing. I'm just saying.
That was
little humans can be cool. Little humans can be cool.
Until they turn to big humans and fuck the world up.
Well, yeah, that's different.
True, very true. But no, you're right. I think that in terms of the negative aspects of it, you're right. A little bit mixing with the lore. Not giving Gore enough to Gore was still a cool character. I thought he was super scary. I love the design. Design worked really, really well. And a bored Bale is basically an Oscar winner for like 90% of most actors.
and that's the thing. Like, Bale was great, but they didn't write him to be anything more than a one-dimensional villain. And the thing that I really hate that Marvel does, and they've been doing it, and they think they're clever with it, is making villains sympathetic in a way that is not entirely evil, or antagonistic or villainous. If Gore had been very clandestine or cheeky about the reasons that he was doing what he was doing, I would have thought that would have made a much more compelling villain than we pulling on our heartstrings. Oh, his daughter and all these things, we see this time and time again. They don't let their villains be villains because they're always trying to attach this human quality to them. And just like superheroes, the reason that they're so mythologized is because there's some aspect of them that's more than human, more than the average person. You take that to villains, it's the same thing. Yes, they are human and they have these concerns and they have them, every person's hero is another person's villain. However, there are certain villains that have irredeemable qualities about them.
Bad.
Exactly. Yep. They're just bad and they're okay with being bad. And
Marvel's lacking that.
Yeah.
That's one that all Disney, their villains. Yeah, Disney, and I would say I was the only one would probably be Green Goblin in No Way Home.
Spider-Man, yeah. And
that was the only one.
First time where you had a villain that was like, I'm powerful. I don't understand all this consternation about needing to do the right thing, and I'm gonna show you why. Like he was the best antagonist that wasn't in the movies, that wasn't didn't have some form of altruism or some
no redeeming quality,
or some righteous cause or something that you can get behind. Like
5 degrees to the left, and most of these villains would be heroes, like a Loki, basically.
Exactly, or Killmonger, or even Thanos. Like again, they're using that sort of old adage of every person's hero is someone else's villain and vice versa.
Yeah, but they use it too much.
Like we gotta have some. Hela was a villain was evil just to be evil.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they killed her too fast. Yeah. And they didn't give her, she should have been the dominant of that movie instead of too much. And I think that's where, going back to Love and Thunder, that's where Taika learned from his mistake with Ragnarok. They spent way too much time with the Sakaar storyline and Ragnarok and with the Grand Master. And by the time they got to Hela,
it was already kind of like,
exactly. You're gonna save her for the third act. I mean, yes, she had those great scenes in the first act and the opening of the second act when she lays waste to the Asgardian army, which was a amazing sequence. Talk about Taika's creativity, like
just the Warriors 3 like that. Ugh.
But also, that was like one of the first and few times in the MCU where you see a character that's supposed to be a god do some god shit.
Yeah.
Like do some real god shit. Like, we see Thor do it all the time, but like Hela was like, nope.
Yep.
Big, small blades, big blades. Blades come out everywhere.
And then, they,
take out ships.
She did a flip, and blades came out of her elbow and took down 3-4 ships.
Yeah,
it was impressive.
That was good. It was good.
And I think the to wrap this up, we'll, instead of doing the final words, we'll go back to kind of like what we always say. Where do they go from that? Where do they go from here? Because the one thing I would say right now is the last, let's say the last 3 Marvel movies, not counting Spider-Man, Strange, Thor, and Eternals, were all space and God related.
Right, cosmic.
And so all cosmic situations. And each one of them, kind of to their own credit, did push that narrative along, of that expanded Marvel's MCU to being like, yo, we're in space, there's gods, there's celestials, there's eternity, which I thought was a dope nod. Actually, I thought it was really good.
It was good design for eternity, and the whole thing I thought was great. Like, that's how you use the cosmic characters. Like, that was great. I like that. And then we had a cameo from Celestials, actually.
Yeah.
In that movie in the city. Like,
So I think, I would say with that, they're kind of setting the stage a little bit better for the cosmic era of this MCU phase 4, which introduces Kang and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, I think where do you guys want it to see, and in terms of, besides having better villains? I mean, villains that they don't kill.
Right. And better villains. It's not just the killing problem at this point. It's the fact that these villains have no real teeth. Like they don't. Again, other than Hela, who did show teeth, but again, they killed her in a really just. And she might not be dead. She's a god.
Yeah. She'll probably be in what's it called? What's the hell they always say? Because I think in the book she's like Queen of Hell for a long time. Hel, the Norse version of
Nordic,
Hell.
the Nordic Hell. Hel.
So, yeah, they could definitely bring her back.
Yeah.
But yeah, so where do they go? Where do they go from here?
I think for me, I want to see a continuance of the cosmic stuff, but I want all of these things to be fleshed out a little more. As I was saying before we went on air with the Doctor Strange, I find myself rewatching it because what they're doing now is opening up the world. So it's like we know that all these different things are happening. Now we know there's a multiverse where there's different versions of different characters. All that stuff is good, but we need to have, I think, things a little bit more defined as far as how the world works. Don't just throw Viking space magic out there to me. Like, I'm sorry, like I'm not an idiot. Like don't do that. That's one of the things that Taika does that I think is both fun sometimes, but then it gets annoying. Don't trivialize something that could be a really big story point, So that's I really just want. I think without continuing to ramble, I just want to see Thor. I don't know if there's more to see from Thor as a single film, but I would like to continue to see Hemsworth's Thor in the MCU, especially as they move deeper into the cosmic stuff. But yeah, that's just pretty much where I am. I want to see more detailed outings of these things and make these characters that are not the superheroes more. Give me more of a reason to invest in them, and it doesn't have to be they're trying to fight for their kids, or if it's a villain, I don't want altruism. I don't want nobility. I want Hela.
Yeah,
that's what I want, and don't kill her. Let her be an evil god.
Yeah, I would say for me, it was like I think if they keep it in that realm of cosmic and really kind of push that more and introducing more of the cosmic area of things, like I think it would be something that could be really, really fun. Because I mean, just like there's so much good stuff out there. You have Silver Surfer, you have Quasar, you have the Nova Corps, you have Galactus, you have all these the cosmic part of Marvel is a really fun playground to play with, and it's very rich, and they can have a lot of fun with it. From movies to TV shows to whatever they want to do. So I hope that they kind of keep keeping that realm. Just because then they can introduce more characters, they can just have a lot more fun with it in general. Also, the last thing I want to point out that for you, Fractu, as long as we get some more Matt Damon as Loki acting, I am 100% all in.
That's him and Luke
Hemsworth. They are. I just every time I see them, I just smile, and that shit is hilarious. It's like.
I think for me, I'm very curious to see what they do with Hemsworth's kid. Now that she's, because at the end, they throw her Stormbreaker, and basically he's like, Dad Thor now, Uncle Thor.
And that's his. I'm sorry, I just had a quick question. That's the actor's daughter, right? The one of the actor's brother. Yeah. That's his real life niece.
Yeah.
I thought that was his kid.
No, that's his brother's daughter. That's Luke's daughter. So when she said Uncle Thor, like that was the real deal.
Oh, I thought.
Yeah, I think it was Luke's kid.
I was his kid. Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, sorry, didn't mean to go there.
She got chops though.
Yeah.
Oh, she was good. She was.
Yeah, I was not annoyed at all. I was like, oh shit, all right.
Yeah.
Man, I can only imagine being her age and seeing that the end cap scene where her and Uncle Thor are jumping up in the air about to take out a whole squad of aliens. I would probably be the most geek little kid of all time. Like,
could not tell me
forever. From even when you're in high school, you could be like, yo,
Yeah, that's me.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah, that read me with the axe. That's me.
That's my
right
uncle
there.
right there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's my uncle.
He's the closest thing you'll ever see to Thor.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm very curious to see what they do with the kid. But who's Cam? You were putting me on. Who's the kid again in the comic?
Oh crap! I already forgot already.
Yeah.
I don't think I have to look it up. I gotta remember, but
Okay.
I don't think it was no one that they. I don't think it was anyone that was like that they kept using later on. It was something like they popped in and then but I forgot specifically significance.
But
which
Tech is gonna make it significant now.
Which is good. That's what I was going to say. Which is again, that's kind of a cool thing because kind of taking back for what our favorite show, Young Justice, is good at is taking kind of minuscule characters from lore and then giving them a whole different life on the screen. So it's almost better that she's not anything crazy, so that they can actually do something completely different. So
right.
But yeah, it's good discussion, fellas. I like that. We started with the fan service, got into the narrative of the real stuff, added in our comic book quibbles.
Yeah, and then broke down that film like it was. So we got deep into that for real.
Yeah, because I think with every film, people kept talking about superhero fatigue and all that kind of stuff, and it's 100% true. But I think now they're hitting a good stride where, if they have the right players in place, and they can still have fun, and I think that's the thing. I think is the most important part. Where it's Hemsworth would not have been. This movie would not have been made had Hemsworth not had so much fun doing Love and Thunder.
Right.
Ragnarok. Sorry.
And Ragnarok. I don't buy into the superhero fatigue thing. It'll superhero fatigue will kick in when they start when bad movies start coming.
Yeah.
Like if we were reliant on DC right now and there was no Marvel Studios, yes, superhero fatigue would have been a thing already. We would be tired of it. We wouldn't want to see it anymore. We'd be like, look at the crap that they're giving us, and we'd be done. But the fact that they're good films and they're building on top of at this point 20 years worth of mostly largely good films. I don't see what there is to complain about. As long as they keep making good movies, writing good movies, putting good directors in the position to make good films and casting largely the right actors. Shut up about not you, but shut up about fatigue already. I
think the fatigue thing is inarticulately it's not expressed the way that people mean it. I don't know given the history of cinema, the Western genre was once a big genre, and now nobody makes Westerns anymore because at some point there is a fatigue. The same thing with horror films coming out of the 80s and into the 90s. The same thing. So there are these cycles. I'm not saying that it's going to happen to the superhero genre because the superhero genre is very unique, and that's probably why it probably won't. And we're talking about the genre that's been around since the 80s. But now what's different is it's an entire machine behind it. It's almost its own medium. Back to what Scorsese said, that's what he meant by an amusement park, a theme park, a roller coaster, because it is formulaic. It is nothing about it that is not highly what am I looking for?
Curated that kind of style.
Yeah, just kind of like that. So I agree with you, Josh, that it's probably not going to get any fatigue anytime soon unless people start making bad movies. But I would say that doesn't mean it won't get fatigue, but that would just mean that they will start making less for more, and then we'll get better films.
And honestly, I think what you'll also get is you'll just get the rise more of stuff like The Boys and stuff like all the other things to balance it out, right? So The Boys is like people are loving The Boys right now. It's super violent. It's super not Marvel. It's super not DC. And that was the whole point of The Boys in the comics. And that's what the whole point of it in the TV show. So I think what you're gonna get is you're gonna start to get more chances. So a lot of these indie projects to kind of get off the ground on that same superhero genre. And I think and if as they continue to be quality, then that will help get that balance. Because like Jupiter's Legacy was a great example. The source material was pretty good, and the show was not good. So you like you said, exactly.
Jupiter's Legacy.
Oh,
yeah,
that's right.
Yep. See,
Josh Duhamel was in there.
Yep. And the sad part about that is like the source material is actually pretty good. But the route that they took the show into, I can see why it didn't hit with people. And but again, like for every The Boys, you have a Jupiter's Legacy. So until they can get, unless DC finally comes out the gate and freaking gives a counterbalance, they got 3 movies coming up in this next 6 months.
Marvel or
DC. Or no, or the next 3 quarters, I should say, not 6 months.
They have Black Adam,
Flash.
Flash is this year?
I think Flash is either the end of this year or the beginning of next.
Yeah, it's supposed to go up against Black Panther.
The Flash is going against Black Panther
in November, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Black Panther's November 11th. So unless they're coming out the week before, and they're only shooting for the 1 week of good press and a free ride. Oh, that's gonna be so funny.
That is funny.
That's stupid.
Yeah. So I think until DC gets their shit together, I think a lot of these indie projects might actually like provide that kind of counterweight, because I think that's the thing. I mean, The Boys is good, but it's also like it's the opposite of all the DC Marvel stuff, and that makes it even better. And so all the adults that are kind of bored of the Marvel shit or DC stuff, they can watch that and be like, okay, now this is more my steez. Or like how Peacemaker was getting like all that shine when it came out.
Yeah, and I think that's just one of those things that like if you're not you can't watch the superhero. We watch it all, but like if the clean, sanitized superhero stories bother you, then you've been watching the wrong thing for a long time, because most superhero stories, the whole point is for them to be sanitized and for them to, of course, over the years they've opened up and become more 3-dimensional and multi-layered, and for adults having more adult narratives and things. But still, at the end of the day, we're talking about working out, human issues through the prism of fantasy. So, it's if you're put off by a person who flies around and saves people and does the right thing all the time, then you're watching the wrong thing. That's all I'm saying. You can't. We don't always need that guy to become a jerk, because there's enough of that in reality.
Yeah, totally true. Totally true. But yeah, that was good, man. I was well, everybody, thank you for listening. We had a great time. Hope you enjoyed the film. Hope you got a little bit more insights instead of your typical comic review. After seeing a lot of these other takes I'm seeing of the reviews of it are just so like super extreme. It's like, oh shit, or it's like, oh, it's amazing. Like, yo, man, there's like no in between. Jesus.
You guys had mentioned some controversy or something too. I don't remember. I was thinking about, but with the Thor Love and Thunder, or maybe I was reading that. I don't know.
It probably is. It's always a controversy over something.
There's always something.
Always something. But yeah, so once again, it's Blerdlines, and we are out.
Peace.